Hola, hola, sí.
Now it is, yes. All right. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us for our panel discussion today on financing innovation, investment and innovation portfolio management. It's a privilege for me to be here as the project leader for ISO 56013 on innovation portfolio management. I'm here with quite a few colleagues that have experience in the innovation portfolio space, and really looking forward to catching insights from public finance and decentralized infrastructure, legalization frameworks, digital technologies, deep tech, venture capital. All of these items are things that obviously will need or have the potential need for a portfolio at some point. And to hear that experience directly will help us to shape the standards that we are developing for ISO. And one of the greatest hurdles that we face with the current market is just the pace of change, the ways in which technology is moving, the way in which competitors or entrants are coming into spaces. It's dynamic and it changes daily. So the ability to not only get your arms around that problem from a new technology or new innovation perspective, but be able to maximize that value, utilizing the tools that are there, things like portfolios is critical. You look at it from financial perspectives, obviously trying to manage risks, looking at it from opportunity perspective when you're looking at what things can bring the most potential to an organization, or looking at it truly from an initiative level. How are you going about piloting and creating these new items, but then packaging them together to find the synergies that will allow you to pull out the most value from these individual initiatives is important. Thank you. To ensuring that you can find success in an organization. So today we'll dive into how organizations across various sectors, large and small, are confronting these challenges and exploring their structural approach using portfolios. So from our panel, I'd like them to introduce themselves. Jan, if you'd start us off.
Okay, my name is Jens Kropka, and I'm here to present DEUS project, Decentralized EU Securities Service. And I'm here on behalf of the Czech Technical University. And I'll talk about the project later. It's quite an interesting project which connects capital markets and DLT blockchain. And thank you for the invitation.
Thank you. Okay, my name is Maria Sagrario Navarro. I'm General Professor of Commercial Law in University of Castilla-La Mancha. For several years, I've been studying or working in the field of blockchain, focusing in the legal implication of using decentralized structures from a governance perspective. DAOs are my main area of study. I think it's a very interesting tool of rethinking traditional legal issues related financial enterprise. So it's a pleasure to be here with you. Thanks, Belén, for inviting me. Thank you.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Okay. That's better. Irina Figgenbaum's my name. I'm working at TÜV Nord. It's a German, well, actually also global certification testing inspection company. I'm there in the function of senior manager for innovation and digitalization. So in principle, I don't have anything to do officially with certification, though I'm the one who is pushing our people to do that, to work with that, with the audits. And I am, in my role, I'm also responsible for our innovation portfolio. So from building it from the scratch and to dynamically managing it.
Good morning. My name is Miguel del Cañizo. I'm a telecom engineer. I was born here in Malaga, so I'm happy for being here, and thank you for the organization to having invited me. I am a founder of Bullnet Capital. Bullnet Capital is a venture capital firm that we started in 2001, and that is focused in deep tech companies, in investing in deep tech companies in early stages here in Spain. Well, now it's named deep tech. 25 years ago, it was named high tech or something like that, because name change, of course. We back companies with a strong technological differentiation and global potential. And I will say that 1/3 of the 30 companies we have invested on during these 24 years are coming from the university or from research centers here in Spain. We have raised 4 funds until today with around 160 million euros under management. And we achieve successful exits to global companies like Ericsson, Samsung, Teledyne, Bruker, Unity, etc.
Awesome. We'll just jump right into the first set of questions. So, in your opinion, what is your organization or your sector's current approach to managing portfolios and specifically innovation portfolios? And that question is for everybody. So, Jan, would you like to start?
Okay, thank you very much. Regarding my experience with that, or the experience with the project, I'll probably start from the project-wise perspective. Regarding the innovation portfolio management, we manage the innovations, let's say on 2 levels. One is we are quite a big multinational consortium, and across 8 European countries, and we are working both on regulatory and also on technological layers of the capital market infrastructure that we are building, because we'd like to set up a platform for SMEs to get their finance their innovation and growth. By doing so, I'll probably tell you a bit more about the project. We are a project that is EU funded, and the platform that we are building is on blockchain. Sorry. And the platform will enable SMEs to issue and trade bonds across Europe to get the liquidity, long-term liquidity, which they are now struggling with. And the blockchain can be an enabler because it can unlock the cross-border capital flows. And it can also attract a lot of investors and mobilize their private capital. But it can also help a lot the companies to grow. Regarding the innovations, we also have the external layer or perspective that the platform can help these SMEs. And it's kind of PPP project, so we need to not only to focus on the SMEs themselves, but we also have to be in regular touch with the other stakeholders, also from the public sector, also from the European Union, and we need to focus on the alignment of the project with the aims and strategies of the European Union. And also this would allow the diversification, another key topic, because what the current platforms are struggling with is that they're mainly focused on one market, one country, and where they're focused on only one sector, but we can really like present a pan-European market to allow the diversification.
Maria.
Yeah, thank you. One of the first thing I think I want is to apologize because I'm not technical, I'm legal. So I'm here to advocate for the role of law in the standardization of innovation portfolio management. When Belén invited me to participate, she asked me to talk about a DAOs. What is a DAO? But before, I think it's better if I provide a bit of context of this word. Okay, a DAO, or Decentralized Autonomous Organization, is a community-led entity that operates according to rules and code in smart contracts on a blockchain. It functions without traditional management, relying instead on community token holders who vote on proposals and manage the organization treasury under crypto economic incentives. Okay, so what does a DAO have to do with innovation portfolio management, I think? Okay, the new approach to innovation involves generating value. Yeah, words like income, saving, productivity, sustainability, empowerment, engagement, experience, trust. All are words that today are very important to understand what innovation is. If we connect these ideas with the philosophy of DLT technologies, we can see that DLT technologies blockchain is a key element for effective innovation portfolio management. We need to understand the ecosystem like network. And in this sense, I think blockchain, I totally agree with you. We need to have an incentives aligned with all the stakeholders. So we need to understand that tokenization, monetization of each stakeholder's value is important. So we need to understand the standardization without make the law a string word in this sense. For example, I told Belén a few days ago a draft about a new concept of startup and scale up company is published. We need to understand the complex concept of startup, scale up, ecosystem. What is the meaning of all these words? And we need the law to understand all these things. The way projects are financed is changing too, not only because we can tokenize bonds, but also because we can create crypto economic ecosystems in DeFi too. So in all this, this war, I think blockchain and the decentralized governance is a very, very important key.
As we look at opportunities and the initiatives, what kind of, and you with your experience, Irina, with your experience with standards related to innovation management, what are the approaches that you guys take with your organization?
Well, I would go then completely in the hands-on. Yeah, so I think the previous two speakers were very much on a high level. What I'm doing is really a much hands-on portfolio management. So what we discovered in the company is that it's incredibly complex issue to do. So we have a lot of initiatives which are running around innovation. And it's not, we're about 14,000 people globally. And these initiatives are coming from 6 business units. And we are decentralized companies, we are the holding. And I'm sitting in the management ivory tower, as I like to say. And in this management ivory tower, we're trying to pull all the initiatives into one big portfolio and try to see and observe where we're going. The problem which we have with that is that we're not making decisions for the business units, which projects they're pursuing or which initiatives they're pursuing. So currently the work which on innovation portfolio, which I've been doing now in the last, I think 5 years that we are building it out, is to really motivate people to manage the innovation initiatives as portfolio in the company. And it's a huge challenge. What we're doing now, we're trying to balance it across the strategic dimension. So basically, since where I'm sitting, I'm only in the kind of governance function. I don't have a decision power for the innovation initiatives in the units. So what we are trying to do is to provide the frameworks for the business units to decide on how they contribute to the overall innovation strategy which we established. So in doing so, we are trying to impose the innovation management system on organization, which is not easy. They're rebelling. And the first steps, of course, of that were to define together, okay, where are we going? Why are we innovating? Why do we need that? What's innovation for us? What is our innovation playground? What's our ambition? So basically, this is all the things which you have to think about when you're setting up an innovation management system. And starting from that, we come to the point where we say, okay, so we've found the framework which helps us to support our innovation portfolio management. And if we're talking about the how question is, we're looking in the very classical matrix of innovating in the core, adjacent, and transformative areas. So the core, close to business, adjacent, away from a business, and transformative, which is completely new for the business. And here we are really in the situation now that we need to create multiple portfolios because we cannot manage that as one. And that's a big question mark also for our standard work, if that's something which makes sense. Because in the decentralized organization, which we have now, introducing the framework from the top, giving strategic goals, giving strategic direction, saying to people, please keep in mind and make strategic decision on which innovations you're pursuing and how you allocate resources according to these domains, as we call them, and to make sure that our business, which actually comes up with innovation initiatives, is consistent with what they planned for resource-wise. Yeah, so I'm going really like in a very, very deep detail, but it's basically to your question, like, okay, so what is our approach? So our approach is to give the framework for the business units, to give them the rules which are in line with the overall innovation management system, to make them set the goals, to give them the framework, to the balancing approach, to set common criteria for evaluation of innovation initiatives, and then to try to figure out how to make people make decisions based on their portfolio and not just use it as a database of listing all the projects. So that will be probably later for the challenge discussion.
Well, as I introduced before, at Boonet Capital, our approach to innovation product management is driven by a strong focus on deep tech and early stage B2B ventures, particularly in sectors like photonics, semiconductors, embedded system, medical devices, and quantum technology. So it's a very different context than the one you presented. So innovation for us is intrinsic to every company we back. So rather than managing it as a side stream, it's really fully embedded in our investment thesis, in our portfolio construction. So we assess and manage innovation through multiple lenses. So we assess technical differentiation and IP defensibility, alignment with industrial trends and requirements, capabilities, commitments, and motivation of the team, and the creation of a mutual trust relationship between Boonet and the teams, and market timing and adoption cycles. We apply a selective, high conviction model, investing in fewer companies that is normally performed than most traditional VCs. We look for a minimal number of failures rather than from some extreme wins. And I would say that we are extremely hands-on. We use an extremely hands-on approach. So all that allows us to work closely with founders of the companies to validate, scale, and align the innovation with the market needs.
Thank you. So for this next set of questions, I want to sort of hopefully make it a little bit more conversational, because I think we've got some interesting dynamics that are happening up here. So you guys have experience and exposure to blockchain. And obviously with multiple countries, multiple partners, global partners, the decentralized nature of blockchain and that type of decentralized finance, what problems do you run into from a portfolio perspective, legal perspective, or tech perspective?
Okay, I think blockchain is an opportunity. There are problems really, but I think is most important the opportunities of blockchain. I think if we are talking about innovation portfolio management, we need to consider the possibilities of DLT technology, because it is possible, it's better to make an engagement of all stakeholders. It's better to monetize contributions. It's better to design a governance framework that attract and invest and ensure returns. So I think it's an opportunity. Yeah, problems. I'm not suggesting that companies or ecosystems should become DAOs or all the ecosystem should use blockchain because it's not real. But I think it's an opportunity. For example, it's real to think all companies become DAOs because there are many problems with DAOs. For example, their legal personality is not clear. What is a DAO? There are several legislation where there is a regulation of DAO. For example, in Europe, there is not a regulation of DAOs. So liability issues are a very important problem. So the nature of governance tokens, there are similar to securities, there are similar to utilities, there has its own nature. The compatibility or not with regulation as MiCA. Here in Europe, we have a regulation of cryptoactives. So if we use blockchain and we use the phenomenon of DAOs to manage an ecosystem, we are in the framework of MiCA or not. For example, it's not the same when we are talking about DAOs in the framework of DeFi, or we are talking about DAOs in other perspective. For example, blockchain for good, impact. So there are very different views. But perhaps the only thing I want to say today is that we need to think of the importance of management innovation through project design that recognize all the parties, enable that innovators are stakeholders, all are stakeholders, and we need to use all the potential to make easier the alignment, the all stakeholders. So I think it's an opportunity. There are several problems, legal problems, very important legal problems, because, for example, concept fully decentralized, we don't know what is really that an ecosystem is really decentralized or fully decentralized. Even there is a core team or the possibility to control in a part of the process. So all these items, legal items, are problems. But I think it's better to think in the opportunities in all this system.
Okay, thank you. I'll build on you. I would say that I fully agree with you that, yeah, blockchain is an enabler of like many things, especially the innovations. But regarding the problems that we may face, I would say, yeah, the one thing is the strategic alignment, but which is quite changing, and all the projects and also portfolios should take that into account, that that the strategic alignment, that these like strategies, the global ones that are like changing the EU or changing the world are evolving, and therefore even the like innovation criteria are evolving. As Miguel said, it was not named deep tech 20 years ago. Like there was probably not that term already like existent. And the same is not only about the name, but it's about the like very nature of these like innovations. I'm also a lawyer, so yeah, there are a lot of legal problems which are basically mirroring itself in the like real business. EU is like seems to be lacking behind global competitors, behind US, behind China, but we are like extremely fragmented. And we are quite fragmented also from the legal perspective, which, yeah, standardization can definitely help. But I would like argue for at least some like standardization, harmonization of EU law, especially in some pretty important aspects related to business. Because yeah, regarding blockchain, we have DLT pilot regulation, but the like its implementation in like different countries is not the same, and there are already 2 licenses according to this regulation in the whole EU. I'm not sure whether this is like a nice example. I mean, it's great that we have this standard, but I would argue that these standards have to be somehow connected with the reality. And when we have like 27 EU countries and we have only 2 licenses regarding to the DLT pilot regime, that's quite a big problem. And another problem is that we do quite lack standardized tools to present and the innovation value of companies, especially on a cross-border basis. And the same with the like scoring, like everything is like so fragmented that I think this like hinders the innovation. And the same is with the finance, as everything is like fragmented again. It's extremely difficult for EU companies to get the access to more long-term liquidity, and long-term liquidity is definitely like necessary for doing any innovations, because if you don't have like enough cash for like long-term, how can you plan long-term?
So before we go to the next question, I think we've got a question from the audience. All right.
Okay, thank you very much. This panel, I think, is quite interesting because maybe we are thinking from different angles on the same thing, but quite different angles. Okay, one thing is how we are managing portfolio, how we make decisions, how we allocate resources, time, people, money, depending on the opportunities we see, depending on different initiatives. Another thing is who is doing decision. So we have here the example in nobody is doing because it is a DAO, it is decentralized, so automated, nobody is, leading on time what happens. So it should be done in the beginning, in the design, in the governance of blockchain. or, if there is a central management where it's evaluating, okay, this is the right situation, this is the context, this is my priorities. And this panel have exactly the purpose, try to look for a common area, a common ground, looking for the value of a standard to solve both problems that are about how we are allocating. So are we efficient and effective allocating resources if we achieve or not the goals we are looking for with innovation? So I think that could be quite important, not exactly what are the problems related to who is doing, related to the organization, it's additional problem, but at least let's try to identify if we can provide from standards a common framework to facilitate the conversation with the new world. Sorry for my personal perception, can be the centralized space and centralized company solution or networks. So I would like to hear also the voice of Irina and Miguel. Do you feel that you share this type of problems regarding on who, or you are more focused on how you are managing portfolio?
Well, I'll jump in. I think it's a very good question, and maybe before answering to what Belen posed, I wanted to follow up on one thing which Jan said, because you just said as the last sentence of your comment that if you have no cash for the long term, why to focus on or think about long term? And that's exactly how our business units are thinking. And exactly what I'm breaking since many years in the company, and that's exactly the essence of strategic portfolio management, and saying, okay, we need to allocate resources for today and need to allocate resources for tomorrow, because without today, there's no tomorrow, it's clear. But if we don't allocate resources for tomorrow, that tomorrow will also never come. So it's kind of a tricky question. So Belen, to you about who's responsible and who is doing what. I think there's multiple levels in terms of portfolio management, and I would probably put them into strategic and operational. What comes to the appropriation inside the company. So we do have a strategic level of portfolio management where we really look into the future. We use foresight for that. We see, okay, where are we in 10, 15 years? And we force our business units to think about innovation opportunities which are emerging for that, regardless of we exist or not. Then we have to reinvent ourselves. If we die, we have to rise as a phoenix, whatever. But we have to really have this big picture in view where we're going to. And this strategic level also involves the working with ecosystem and having innovation projects and initiatives which will be owned by us, but done together with our partners. So it's also a very tricky field where we're going about responsibility. And another level is operational level, where we really have a simple day-to-day problems of our project managers. And I'm emphasizing project managers, because I think it's wrong that the project managers are responsible for their innovation portfolio evaluations. But we do have our day-to-day project managers who are managing innovation initiatives, who have to evaluate their initiatives based on criteria which we develop for them, and they're swearing and saying like, why on earth do I have to do that? And they don't understand that, why we have to think about sustainability impacts of our innovation initiative, and why for the profitable project, which is potentially dangerous for environment, they will get no go from the portfolio management, basically. So there's a lot of problems in different levels. And I don't know if I answered your question, but basically that's something where in terms of appropriation responsibility, strategic level, we're owning, operational level, we have to give away. And about the blockchain, 5 years ago, we decided that we are not following that technology for us because we didn't see the fit. And it was the right decision 5 years ago, because in 5 years, nothing happened relevant for us, which would have really, we didn't lose anything. But now, since this decision was made 5 years ago, nobody is questioning it. And that's a problem because now we are in a completely different point in time, and using the foresight and future thinking and everything, you would have to say, okay, we need to change to question that decision, because now we have a completely different maturity level of technology, society, partnership, ecosystem, everything. And there's also part of the things which should be done in the portfolio. So if we once decided against some initiative in a portfolio, we need to bring it back. And this is a problem which we didn't solve until now, how to do that, because people all the time say, well, but we have already decided. Yeah, but that was 5 years ago.
Um,
Can I,
I,
hello?
I will try to answer the question from Helen. I'm not at all an expert on standards, at least on non-technical standards. So I don't know if you can develop, or we can develop a standard that will address this very different context or situation, because I'm not sure. From our perspective, we don't manage innovation in a standardized or in a procedural way, of course, but probably we could agree that it could bring value, something like that, to align languages, metrics, to improve reporting, enabling cross-sector dialogues and discussions, to support the ecosystem, the cohesion between different actors, etc. But we feel that it's essential that the standard remains flexible, because the startup-driven innovation doesn't follow rigid templates. It's completely entropy-driven in a very different way, okay? So another important point is that any standard or framework should be grounded in really real-world practices. We were discussing that yesterday, and real experience in innovation management, and not theoretical ones.
Okay. So what I have not heard, okay, and maybe you do it, you probably do it, I know you probably do it, is not just considering the overall value or alignment to strategy and so forth, but also how do you manage risk? You know, how do you determine whether these projects are going to give you what you expected, or that as you're proceeding with them, that you get ahead of it so that you can prevent problems that might show themselves later?
Yeah, because I think the question is wrong, Belén. I don't think that is we don't need to speak about who or how, because I think all are speaking about how. For example, I am a traditional company, a traditional innovation portfolio manager, and I must ask myself which is the best way to do my business. And perhaps the best way is introducing DLT elements in my way of manage the portfolio. So I think we are talking the same. I'm talking about decentralized, but as a way to do business. It's an opportunity to understand that it's possible to do business in another way. I don't know if I agree with you that all she has said me, okay, all the innovation criteria are involved. So.
And that's probably maybe what Nina said, that the innovation criteria have to like evolve, or because they are like evolving themselves, or the innovation in the world around us is like evolving, and therefore we need to react. And I think this is like both true in these like new technology world, or in the like more traditional world. But we need to, or I would recommend to focus also on like how to get the innovation criteria evolving and while managing the portfolios. And this is probably the question that, and I'm reacting to like your decision like 5 years ago. It should probably, and in these standards, we should try to find some process how to identify when the decision like should be overcome or re-evaluated. This is probably about the like involvement of the external world and also the criteria inside the companies and projects and portfolios.
Well, that's actually a very good comeback, because in principle, this is the management decision, and when the decisions have to be reviewed. So the management, so I would say the board who says that no, blockchain is not our piece of cake at the moment, then reevaluates and say, okay, we have to reassess it. And the question is, who is responsible for bringing that on the table, and how often? And I was talking with some innovation portfolio consultants some time ago. There was a really great discussion when they were introducing the concept of having a shelf for rejected innovation initiatives. So basically that you can always feed your portfolio, and once a year you're looking into the shelf, what you've been rejecting before, and say if it's time for that. So we don't have the shelf until now. Our things which once they're rejected, they got in the waste bin. And maybe in the heads of some people who've been working with that, they're still there and they still think, oh, there's trigger. One way to do that would be, of course, to say, okay, we don't need to review the old stuff, just let's focus on the trends. So if the trend wasn't present 5 years ago, let's say, and we evaluated it in a certain way, it will keep popping up. I'm doing foresight in the company as well. It keeps popping up. So you cannot ignore that. If you're doing foresight, you cannot ignore the trends. So basically, we do need to establish certain mechanisms on how to review the portfolio decisions. But at the same time, we talked yesterday also in the session about that. What is the connection to the strategic intelligence standards and how to integrate that? How can we actually ping pong those two things? So I think there is definitely potential to reference the other work which we've been doing here. And maybe before Soren jumps into the question, I still think that we didn't answer the risk question in terms of the risk. So I'll quickly get back to you, Rick. So just in practice, what we are doing is, for us, risk exists once a project has passed the development and goes into implementation. And if you look into the classical innovation funnel, at the ideation, we have high uncertainty. We're working with uncertainties and opportunities. We evaluate the risks, but we tend to ignore them because we still don't know yet what's going to happen until we have first proof of concept. After we have created proof of concept, we'll go into development, we evaluate it again and say, okay, so what are the risks which we are facing? And only once we record them and we know them and we have a contingency plan, but we still don't know if that's going to happen because we're still in the minimum level of uncertainty. And once we're reaching the low level of uncertainty and we are basically in a go-to-market phase, then the 9001 kicks in. And we have a whole risk procedure for handling the innovation the projects. They're not anymore innovations, they're the projects. So I think that we have a really nice interplay also in terms of integrated management system here, where we can really see, okay, how the risk is evolving through the innovation process and how we are taking care of that.
If I can say a word about your question also about how risk should be managed. And I can say that one of the highest challenges we face at Bullnet is that, of course, many startups are founded by professors and researchers that have little business experience. And I would say that one of the aspect that is more challenging related to the risk is that they are so much creative. This is a strength, but it often leads to a constant flow of new ideas. Many of them generally good and ambitious. And for example, they might want to apply his core tech to a completely different market. And of course, they underestimate how complex this shift is. they forecast it will take 6 weeks to do that when it's always more involved. Nothing takes 6 weeks in life, commercially, technically, of course, regulatorily, etc. So the problem here is not bad ideas because they are they are easy to dismiss. The real challenge managing the risk here is managing too many good ideas without losing focus. That's where we try to manage risk as investors and to add value, how helping founders prioritize, to stay focused and align innovation and execution without killing their creativity.
Yeah, I think that really brings a lot of that to light between the risk and the strategic pieces, right? If you don't have a good direction or understand where you're trying to go, it's really hard to ensure that all these ideas that are coming in are pushing you forward in the direction you're actually trying to go. So making that marriage is one of the key aspects that we're talking about with these standards. Soren, you have a question.
Yeah, to some extent you answered my questions about the managing of the portfolio, especially you, Miguel, because you are in a very interesting position. You are, by definition, a manager of a portfolio of investments in number of companies. So you have to manage that portfolio. It would be nice to hear about your experience. Secondly, you give money to the companies and you expect them to manage their portfolio of innovations in order to be successful, not with ideas, but with the achievements in the market, with the deployment all the way to the market. So you said you are a hands-on VC. How do you work with your people, not your people, the people in the companies, to help them manage their portfolio of your investments? And how much are you going to value a management standard that helps them manage their portfolio better?
Okay, thank you. Well, as I mentioned, we definitely take a portfolio approach to our investments, as you said, and because we have to build a balanced portfolio, considering the tech readiness, the sector exposure, the capital staging. We have to manage risk and to ensure long-term support. But in the other sense, as you also mentioned, we also encourage our startups to apply a portfolio mindset internally. That means managing multiple innovation streams, sometimes too many, but staging focus with priorities in the high potential effort and cutting the weaker ones early. So yeah, it's right. We think in portfolios, both as investor and within the companies we invest on or we back.
So will a standard help you train better your investments? It's a management standard, not a technology. It's not a technology standard. It's a management. It's a good recipe for how to manage certain things.
I think I will need to study the document and to give you an answer.
You have the great colleague there to help you there.
You're trying to sell him a cat in a sack. That's not going to work.
I would say that it will be hard, but
in the back.
I'd like to come back to the question of risk management, because say that we have to manage risk, but I actually have two customers where the first action we're taking, well, their objective is to have more breakthrough, radical, disruptive innovations. So actually, what the issue they're facing is that they're over managing risks. So the first action that we're working on is now to to ensure that they will have more high risky projects because more high uncertainty related projects. So I was wondering, what is your view on this? We just come back to this relation between risk management and portfolio management. Is it like something that where we should, does portfolio management should it be an help to reduce risk among the project, or should it be more something that is aligned with your innovation intent?
Well, then I quickly jump in. Maybe it should be aligned with your innovation ambition. So it's where you're playing. So if you're playing in the transformative field, then you just have to have an appetite for a lot of risk and be willing to actually go for the projects which have a lot of risk. And I would expect that with startup funding, you will be in the same place.
Yeah. As I mentioned before, risk is inherent to our life. So we are investing in risky projects. So our way of addressing risk is being very near and understanding the projects and creating a trust relationship with the teams. So just to detect when problems arise very, very soon, when it's possible to resolve still the problems, and not when the problems are already irresolvable. Okay.
Thank you very much for this extremely interesting roundtable. My name is Susana Rodriguez. I'm CEO of a company, of a startup, and we are developing Web3 technologies. And I have a question for both Jan and Maria. I don't know about Jan because I am not very aware of your project, but for Maria, regarding DAOs, I have a very specific question. We are struggling with it. And my question is, how can DAOs sustainably finance innovation while balancing community governance, long-term incentives for token holders, and the risk appetite for these token holders? Meaning, how can we align short-term votes on governance with long-term innovation goals and managing this innovation portfolio that the DAO may have? Meaning also, and I would like to know your opinion about mitigating risks of speculative behavior in these DAOs versus underfunding radical ideas and really innovative ideas in DAOs.
Okay, it's very, very, very difficult to answer. Okay, yeah, DAOs is a complex phenomenon. There are a lot of problems with them. But for example, several DAOs implementing a vesting mechanism of voting or dual class voting, or to align long term, we can think in the possibility to make a vesting schemes similar to startups. But I think the most difficult item is regarding to the liability in the DAOs. Because if you think in an entity that there is nobody behind and that operates with a smart contract, it's difficult to identify a person that we can liable of all the company, because there is no company. It's a phenomenon without a legal personality. So I think it's a most real item to think about traditional companies or traditional way of managed innovation portfolio. And inside the company, we can introduce a DAO channel. In this DAO channel, we can make, for example, through crypto economic incentives to make a more efficient engagement of the stakeholders. But I don't think those are the solution of all. For example, I think a very interesting issue is the scoring. We need to score which is better in innovation. The standard, for example, will speak about good standard innovation, bad innovation. If you implement DLT solution are better in innovation than not, all these things are important, but those today have several problems. But there are keys to do all these things that you has said. Yeah, vesting schemes, party autonomy to design the nature of token governance, make a difference between investors and token holders, and not all have the same token. Yeah, we can do several things, but there are problems. But I'm in love with those. No? So I think this is a phenomenon that we must to take in account.
Sure, thank you.
So when you have a portfolio, the key word I think is balance, okay? Because you're not just going to get risk adverse, Johan. You're going to get those risky projects in there, the ones that you want, depending upon the risk appetite of the company, right? You could either do more or less, but you have to be ambidextrous. You have to have the ability to have those disruptive and completely new areas to go into, but you can't just do that. I had some clients in South America. That's exactly what they were doing. They started out with innovation by just doing disruptive stuff and forgetting about the daily stuff that they had to do. Guess what? They almost got bankrupt because they were not continuing to manage that risk. They just let that go. So now they understood and they're doing a balancing of both. So you really have to have the risk that you need to manage that risk, but you also need to do the disruption. So.
Yes, I think the big thing is that we've hopefully advertised and communicated today is that really what we're looking at from this standard perspective is trying to help with those management aspects. There are always going to be new technologies. There's always going to be new companies to invest in. There's always going to be new partners and laws, but the way in which we approach that, the processes, making sure that we are providing that balance, making sure that we're looking at the strategic levels, and also ensuring that we're utilizing the relationships between all of these components in a way that helps to maximize value. That's really what our standard at least is about and what we are trying to help organizations to do. So looking forward to continuing the conversation with all of you guys. I'm hoping that we can continue to provide insights to you and you can provide insights to us. It's just going to be incredibly helpful to ensuring, to your point, Miguel, that we are putting out something that will actually help with real life examples and can actually bring the value that we think that it can. So thank you. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
What is the next one? Bella, what's the schedule? What's next?
And then just send them.
I was approaching so it's not, and I don't even, I see it more from the perspective of like, once, I don't see it for startups. For startups, it's literally, here's $100,000, give me my money back. And they don't give two shits about how you go about doing it, you just gotta get that money back. But they get to a point of maturity, and now it's a matter of, they're either going to try to upscale so they can sell and make a whole bunch of money, or we can at least get you on a path of being able to put out products so that we then up and out the amount of money we make. So it's at that point, for sure, you want them to have the ability to be able to do that.
And I don't think the VC necessarily needs to be portfolio management.
No.
The individual, they can sort of balance everything, but high level.
But like from that perspective, the ecosystem influence that these components of the portfolio basically start working together.
And I don't know if it was, I think it was sorry I mentioned. Wouldn't a standard be a good way for you?
I did this workout explaining at the beginning, here's what we would look at from a management perspective. Then you got to reinforce that to talk about. So,
But he had a good point. That question was very well done. So we should ask that question here.
Thank you.
So thank you very much, everybody, for attending today. I invite all my colleagues, experts, and audience to sit. And I hope that you are enjoying today the discussion, quite difficult discussion. We try to connect the different worlds. So maybe this panel can clarify a bit more how to create ecosystem from diversity, from diverse viewpoint. So we have the pleasure to discuss about how we can create ecosystems from different viewpoints. One of them will be by blockchain technologies. You hear a lot of today about blockchain. I invite all the experts on blockchain, try to make the exercise to communicate in a common language, let's say for no experts on blockchain, to allow everybody understand the concepts we are commenting about, tokens, smart contracts, maybe something, people that doesn't know anything about blockchain cannot understand properly what is the value. So let's focus on value, on the benefit to use the technology. And we have the pleasure to come with a truly excellent panel of experts. One is coming from online, which is Pierre. I see you now, Pierre. You are connecting from the European Commission. Are you there?
Yes, I'm
Thank
here.
You very much.
Can you hear me, Helen?
Thank you very much, Pierre. Also, we have the pleasure to come with Annika Steber, which is the team leader of the standard that at the end we are discussing these days, one standard on innovation ecosystem management. So Annika can moderate this session very well and is truly who is leading the discussion at the global level. We welcome also with Soledad Diaz, which is Managing Director of Association of Technological Parks. You have experience also on blockchain, on ecosystem for sure. So we can learn a lot from your experience. We have the pleasure to come with Miguel Ángel Domínguez. Miguel Ángel has a very, very large experience, not only in blockchain, on digital sites, and of course on ecosystem creation. We'll comment about Alastria, which is an ecosystem from years ago. And the last but not the least, Alicia, hopefully I pronounce well, Shell, okay, which is the CEO of International Association of Science Technological Parks and of Innovation, and also has experience of what we are commenting. So thank you everybody for attending this roundtable. And now I give the floor to Annika, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for an excellent introduction. So I will just give a small context or a brief context before we are going to listen to our first speaker today. So the roundtable, this roundtable is about building the innovation ecosystem. And the important thing here is the technology and the management perspective. So we will cover both. Technology is, of course, extremely important in making innovation ecosystem more efficient and effective, and management of them is equally important. So we're going to try to cover both those perspectives today. To give some background, the Draghi report clearly states that innovation is one of 3 pillars of strategic competitiveness in Europe, and it should be a political priority. There is a belief that a standard or guidelines on best practice for managing innovation ecosystem is important, as it could reduce the fragmentation of ecosystem practices, enabling greater interoperability, efficient collaboration, and scalability across sectors and countries. So today we're going to focus on success factors for how to orchestrate innovation ecosystem. And as I mentioned, both from a technology and management perspective. And I would like to start inviting Pierre Marot, European Commission DG Connect Future Internet Unit E3, to present a little bit more about EBSI and how you promote the creation of innovation ecosystems.
Yes, good afternoon to all of you. I hope that you hear me well. Many thanks, Belen and Annika, for the introduction. I'm working for DG Connect. So for those who don't know the organization of the European Commission, DG Connect is the Directorate General in charge of digital affairs, broadly speaking. And as part of those actions, we intervene in terms of regulation, we intervene in terms of support, in particular support to research and innovation. We intervene also to different type of policy measures in different fields and for different type of digital technology, and of course for their adoption. In the context of blockchain, before to focus on the European Blockchain Service Infrastructure EBSI initiative, I would like to stress the fact that the Commission, and in particular DG Connect, we intervene at different, let's say, with different work strands. One of them, and I will come back to it with EPSI, is a cooperation between member state or relevant authorities in member states, and this is for EPSI. I will provide you with more detail. But we also regularly support research and innovation project through our framework program for research and innovation, which is called Horizon Europe, and before that it was Horizon 2020. So every year we have a bunch of projects which concern blockchain or decentralized technology, which are supported, and those projects are mainly focused on the innovation that can be provided by using those technologies. So it's not so much to improve the technology itself, even if we have some project about it, but it's more using blockchain, for instance, in the for services in agri-food, in mobility, to improve sustainability, energy efficiency, etc., etc. And so it's really level of intervention where we mobilize a large number of stakeholders, of innovators in Europe around the activities concerning decentralized technology. Then we aim also to provide for more legal certainty, and this is done by two main types of action. One being to update existing regulation, to create a new regulation in order to take into account what the type of application of this technology. We never regulate technology, but we can regulate the application of technologies. And this is the case, for instance, for what concerns the crypto asset with what is known as MiCA, Market in Crypto Asset Regulation. It's not done by DG Connect, it's done by my colleague from DG FISMA in charge of the financial services and financial market. And this has been an important step for blockchain. It was the largest regulation impacting, let's say, a continent like Europe, and which is now implemented. In parallel of those type of regulation, which always aim to, in a way, to secure the investment in the case of MiCA and protect the investors, but also to enable innovation. We have also launched a specific initiative, which is called the European Blockchain Regulatory Sandbox, or European Blockchain Sandbox, where we organize dialogue between projects, between innovators and authorities in charge of different regulatory areas. And this is an action which is now well advanced. It is on this cruising phase, and it is an action which is quite innovative at European level. It was the first time that we launched such a sandbox, but it's very well perceived by the projects themselves, but also by the regulators, the regulatory authorities. And here we invite regulatory authorities from the different member states, and of course from the EU level. And in doing so, we develop, if we cannot provide always for legal certainty, but at least we develop the common understanding and interpretation of rules for those innovative solutions. We support, I mean, just to be short and then to focus a bit on EPSI, we support also effort for standardization. We support interoperability in standardization. This is very, very important. We support also activities for skills development. So we have a bunch of activities which address different aspects that are relevant for nurturing an ecosystem and for facilitating the adoption of those technologies, which eventually, for me, is a key driving force, whatever the way it's going to happen, but to promote innovation and to make a very lively ecosystem is to see that there is an appetite or initiative that helps to adopt those innovations. And this makes the link with the EPSI initiative, where this initiative was created based on a joint declaration of different member states at ministerial level in order to cooperate and to create a blockchain-based infrastructure that will help for the adoption of those technology. And in doing so, it will give interesting perspective for, let's say, the innovators themselves, but also for those who want to use those technology. So this is a famous EPSI, or European Blockchain Service Infrastructure, which aims to provide for a pan-European infrastructure, leveraging on decentralized technology, including blockchain, but we include also decentralized identifier, verifiable credential, wallet, and of course the blockchain ledger. We combine it in a way to provide for better services. And this initiative was launched a few years ago with the first phase where it is still the Commission which is making the main coordination policy, but also technical coordination also for the development in liaison with organizations coming from the different member states to propose services at a pan-European level and to rely it on a decentralized network of nodes where we have where the nodes are everywhere in Europe, with as a first focus the support to public services or the implementation of public policy, And but there is no real limitation about the type of activities that can be supported, and this can evolve over time. And to give just an example before to give the floor back to the other panelists and to you, Nainka, in terms of use case, we have focused so far on the exchange of verifiable credential or attestation, taking a specific format enhanced with cryptography, which enable to share any kind of information, having the user in the control. So just to take an example, in the education area, a student or a former student can get his diploma in a specific electronic format, which is cryptographically secure, and to decide to share it in a private way to the organization that needs to know about it in the context of moving from one university to another one, or moving or applying for a job application for jobs, etc., etc. So and these models that have been developed in FC can be, of course, let's say, replicated in different fields, and this is where we are. So I have a lot of things to add, but I don't want to be too long in my first intervention, and then I'm pleased to take the floor again.
Thank you so much. It was extremely interesting. So I'm going to keep myself on the technology side and technology perspective, and would like to ask Miguel Dominguez. He's a general manager of Alastria. And you have something called ISBE. So tell us a little bit more about, because a lot of people are not from Spain, what is that? Could you give us a small introduction, and also how that is used to create and grow innovation ecosystem?
I'm Miguel Dominguez, President of Alastria. First of all, thanks, Belen, for the invitation. Alastria is one of the biggest public permissioned blockchain ecosystems. We have more than 500 partners, and we have been promoting responsible, regulation-aligned blockchain that has been very successful in the last 4 years. And we have more than 20 countries participating in the key European projects like TrueBlood, TrustChain, Deus, and DOM. What's ISBE? ISBE is de infraestructura de servicios blockchain españoles, that it's a national Spanish blockchain ecosystem designed to be secure, public, and permissioned. That means that it's open to everyone: public administration, companies, SMEs, and startups that will strong governance. Why it's important? Because we need digital services that on what we can trust, that are going to be interoperable across Europe, and that respect our data. ISBE allows different digital services to connect securely, avoiding fragmentation. It supports everything from notarization, certification, supply chain, and digital identity. It's just like roads allows vehicles to move freely. ISBE will allow trusted digital service to move across sectors, borders, boosting innovation and economic growth. To sum up, ISBE wants to be the Spain digital trust engine, a blockchain infrastructure for everyone, and the way to go from fragmentation to blockchain interoperability. How does ISBE is going to grow the blockchain in long term? ISBE creates an ecosystem by inviting everyone, startups, companies, universities, public entities. It offers shared services like digital identity, notarization, which lower costs and accelerates the development of this technology. It's not a private club. It's open to everyone. It's a neutral platform where multiple stakeholders will contribute, co-create, and benefit of the technology. Its governance ensures transparency, and because it's public but permissioned, it's inclusive and resilient. It belongs to the community. This is very important. There's no organization, public or private, that is going to control it. So we are working in bringing together a public and private innovation to be an open ecosystem and not a private club. And it's designed for collaboration, built to last.
Fantastic. So one just follow-up question. As we are working, as you know, with a standard now for innovation ecosystem, which is not easy. It's a pretty complex phenomena. How do you see that blockchain can go beyond a technical tool and become a governance enabler in ecosystem management?
Yeah, it's quite difficult. Blockchain is a very new technology. So create standards in a new technology is quite difficult because no one knows what is going to what are we going to develop the technology, the people that is working with the technology. So ISBE is based on a shared value business model. It offers flexible ways to participate. Some actors will pay to use, others contribute by operating the network, and others just developing services. So are we going to be able to create a standard about this? We don't know. But we are going to work to try to get this standard.
Do you think that we will see blockchain as a technology enabler in future innovation ecosystem?
We hope so.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Thank you so much. I would like to go over more to the management side. We have Soledad Diaz here, Managing Director of APTE, or Association of Science and Technology Park of Spain. And so I would love to ask you, what role do you think that science and technology parks play in catalyzing collaborative innovation ecosystems?
Okay, first of all, I would like to say that it's a pleasure for me to participate in this interesting event about a topic, innovation, that is a topic that we need to increase the level of innovation in our country and also across Europe. I would like to say that the Spanish science and technology parks are enablers of systematic innovation, not just through the infrastructure they have, that also, but through their ability to orchestrate multi-actor collaborations. So they foster trust, alignment, and synergy that are key elements for the management of collaborative innovation ecosystem, but also from our perspective, from our experience, there are 4 elements more to get success of the management of an innovation ecosystem, of promoting collaborative innovation ecosystem. And these elements are, for example, having a purpose. The innovation ecosystem has to be a purpose. I mean, a goal to turn in the region or the locality where the innovation ecosystem is located into a benchmark for something, okay? And then trust. They have to provide trust between a stakeholder with the different goals and speeds. For example, using blockchain, that is a very good example that technology can provide this trust. And third, continuity in the leadership ambitions to maintain coherence across potential political or economic chains. And finally, the capacity to convert collaboration into real innovation projects to avoid innovation just become in a buzzword. At the end, the recipe is simple. Is to provide a virtuous circle of innovation. That's our President Felipe Romera said. This is the main goal of each innovation ecosystem in Spain. To get this main goal, they have, for example, a lot of R&D infrastructure. In our scientific park, they are locating the 58% of singular technical and scientific technology infrastructure of our country. And this R&D infrastructure provided the ecosystem the possibility to accelerate the development and validation of emerging technologies, as for example, blockchains, and also supporting startups and scale up in high-tech fields. And also, Scientific Park has the ability to connect stakeholders, facilitating partnership and knowledge transfer between these kind of actors. Another key issue is supporting entrepreneurs and startups and the tech transfer from the academia to the market. Also, with the connection with ISP, the International Association of Science and Technology Parks, we have a window to global market. The majority of the members of our association are members also of the International Association. To this scientific part supports the global reach of innovation. For example, organizing inspirational missions abroad to know other innovation ecosystems. Also providing partnership with international associations as ISP, and also attracting foreign investment and talent, as is the case of Malaga TechPark. This is the leader of attracting companies, global companies and global investment. And also it's important, very important for us to, for our members to be agents of inclusive and sustainable innovation. For example, we organize programs about STEM education, program to reduce the gender gap in the STEM fields. And also the activities of our members are very aligned with the Spanish Design, Technology and Innovation Strategy, and also with the 2030 agenda. For example, the development sustainable goals are a key issue in the daily activity of our members.
So a quick follow-up question. So when you mention the circle of innovation, it sounds like your vision is, or your belief is that you need to create an innovation ecosystem that is continuously creating value in order to sustain over time.
Yeah, yeah. You know, in an innovation ecosystem are living the quadruple helix, are living together, academia, companies, civil society, investment, administration. The main goal of a successful innovation ecosystem is to convert the ideas, maybe proceeding from the academia or maybe generated by the entrepreneurs, by the civil society, to value to be applied in the market. If these ideas are applied in the market, this idea gets value that can invest in the academia, in the civil society. It's a virtuous cycle.
Right. With feedback loops.
Yeah.
Great. Fantastic. I took a lot of notes from both of you, all three of you. Alicia, you are the COO of IASP, International Association of Science Parks and Areas of Innovation. Just repeat so everyone gets, the importance of those organizations, the correct name. From a global perspective, because you have a global perspective, what are the common challenges and best practices in managing innovation ecosystem effectively?
Yeah, an interesting and relevant question. And of course, just to repeat again, so as you said, this is the International Association, Science Parks, Areas of Innovation. But in our membership, we have close to 350 members in 79 countries across the world. And so with this membership, we're not just, so there's some feedback. We're not just talking about a technology park, a science park. We come down to covering various different models within our network. So we gather within our network innovation hubs, innovation districts, other innovation entities that all come under a common theme. They all have the ambition and aim to provide value, innovation, support entrepreneurship, business opportunities with their respective communities. And of course, the companies located within them. As Sole mentioned, we have not just the triple or quadruple helix, but also the quintuple helix elements now involved in all of these elements. So when we're talking about innovation ecosystems, one of the first things we have to understand is what are we talking about and all of the different actors involved. We're maybe preaching a little bit to the choir here. We're already discussing this. This is why we're here to really understand these concepts. Yesterday, there was the specific roundtable on companies, the individuals, and obviously business. And we're talking now, and we had the government representatives, and you've had your visits. But when we're talking about the common challenges and best practices, you have to have the context set out of, well, what are we talking about? What's good for me is we don't deal with blockchain directly, for example, but our technology parks and their respective companies and contacts, they do. As Sonia mentioned yesterday, we have a subnetwork which is focused on blockchain. So that means for any of our members who have specific queries or activities on that, they can address their queries or discuss a bit more internally on that. But that's like a subcommittee. So coming back to the question about how to manage them, you need to identify these multiple innovation actors, and they have to also feel reflected. So when we're talking about a certification or a standardization for innovation ecosystems, these innovation ecosystems, whether they're a technology park, a science park, an innovation hub, a university, or whatever context, they have to see themselves in that. They have to say, okay, that applies to me and my contacts, my context, and my company as well. We, as ISP, collaborated with the Joint Research Centre of the European Commission to put a publication together called A Taxonomy of Innovation Spaces, partly with this in mind, to be able to say, look, lots of these labels are out there, but what do they mean? And it's a useful publication, but even so, it only covers a small corner of what we're talking about here today. We know we've already identified these key actors involved in these processes for innovation, and this is why we need to centralize it a little bit, but obviously still giving the autonomy to the stakeholders that are involved. within our networks, of course, say a science park has got different relationships with their stakeholders and different ownership structures as well. So we know that we can't have a one-size-fits-all strategy. However, we can have some guidance, we can have guidelines. And somebody said yesterday, I can't remember who, but it's better to have something, even if it's not perfect, because that provides you with something to work on and something to build on. Within each science and technology park, we're talking about small teams. So if they're going to be following some sort of framework, it's a small team that needs to follow it, but also needs to then share that input to their respective innovation ecosystems, the companies located within it. So it's a trickle-down effect. On average, a science and technology park or innovation district team is maybe no more than 25 people. So many much smaller, and yet they manage to achieve many things. And this is why the collaboration. So in terms of your question about the best practices, we come to a bit of a cliche, but it's a good word, which is the collaboration. It's talking, it's communication, it's having an effective system in order to apply what you're doing. These technology parks and equivalent, we call them, we expanded our name, for example, to science parks and areas of innovation. The taxonomy referred to them as innovation spaces. So let's just, for a generic catch-all term, call them innovation spaces. Their activities are all similar. They focus on business development. They provide events for their resident companies. They focus on networking and marketing, as well as the incubation and acceleration, which come under the innovation support activities. But then, of course, from there, you go to the employees within each of the innovation ecosystem, which also have to absorb and take on the innovation context and objectives, and also in due course, maybe a standardization certification, so that they bring up the level and can start addressing some of the innovation gap that we're seeing, was mentioned in the Draghi report. Resident companies, we can't generalize between one member and another member, because we know that even within Spain, there's variation with both the sectors, but also the numbers within a science technology park. But it's about being able to provide knowledge and insights to that community. Success factors, they're tricky to define. How can we have it? We need to have some KPIs about what you're measuring, about what does success mean to each of these technology parks or science parks. How do you measure the innovation? So we come back to this important idea of defining the key points here. From our general survey, we carry out a global survey every 3 years with our membership, and the main things that are listed as factors of success are links to universities. So that factors of success are links to university. So they can have the talented people. And then another factor of success is related to the programs and projects that they're carrying out. Those were the, say, top 3. In terms of indicators used to measure success, they measure the increase in companies. We heard yesterday from Felipe Romera about the growth that Malaga TechPark is having. And of course, whilst we can't necessarily compare, we have members in China who have thousands of resident companies. That doesn't mean to say that they're better than a European member who has hundreds. It's comparative. And so sometimes you can say, okay, well, we'll measure the growth and that impact. Another indicator would be the funding perhaps provided for R&D activities or other actions going on. And then, of course, the technology transfer, knowledge transfer processes. So those are some of the indicators that people use. And in terms of best practices, these are things to bear in mind when we're looking to help and support and develop both with and for our members, and as known as innovation ecosystems or innovation spaces.
Hi. Fantastic. Super interesting. And I'm sitting nodding because I've seen similar things, and I'm just so happy when I sort of hear you just repeat things that hopefully we are on the right track. Of course, it's not one model, it's more guidelines that we also need to develop. I have one more question to Miguel. So building trust and interoperability is extremely important. And we hear it over and over and over again in the context of innovation ecosystem. What lesson have Alastria learned about building trust and interoperability within this blockchain-enabled ecosystem? You must have a lot of lesson learned from that.
In this, we have to talk about the power of standardization, elevating trust and constructing interoperability. ISBE is trying to not just to be a blockchain network, is trying to be a standard setting blockchain that ensure that Spain digital services will be interoperable, secure, and recognized all along Europe. ISBE is going to be designed aligned with European standards. It's built on the same protocols as EPSI, using open standards like Hyperledger Besu. This alignment ensures the true interoperability and cross-border collaboration. We are trying to make the network security and compliance by design with standardized governance, consensus, encryption, and identity management. ISBE meets all the regulatory standards. We are trying to be developer friendly and future-proof. And standardized infrastructure accelerates development of these use cases that we always are trying to get. We are trying to reduce duplicate effort, enables plug and play plugins. It's trying to follow the Europe best practice like EPSI to reduce the friction for both public and private developers.
I would love to sit here forever and ask you a question. I want to go back to Pierre. Is Pierre?
Yes.
Yep, you're here. So this might be a biased questions, but what are the Commission's plan to support standardized framework for ecosystem orchestration across sectors and countries?
I'm not sure to be able to answer to your question for the specific standard for ecosystem management, but I would like to stress the fact that at European level, at the European Commission level, we support standardization bodies and standardization process through different instruments. And I would like to stress the fact that standardization, a bit as was said by Miguel, remain also a challenge in the blockchain area. So I would like to stress the two things. It remains a challenge because in a way, blockchain has been invented and a lot of innovation is coming from an approach which was completely outside the traditional organization for innovation, which is this Satoshi Nakamoto and the Bitcoin blockchain. It was something which was created completely outside the traditional roots for innovation. And then it continues now to be driven by ecosystem, blockchain ecosystem like the Ethereum, but also other famous blockchain. just a name for, but Avalanche is Corda. I mean, there is a lot of different ecosystem which continue to develop a bit according to their own way. And it's just impressive the number of innovation which have been possible in the field due to those different initiatives. At the beginning, we were fascinated by this algorithm that enable to transfer value without any middleman. Then we were fascinated by all the possibility introduced by Vitalik Buterin with the Ethereum, and then there was all this frenziness about everything was possible, and everybody was curious to use blockchain. Then we have seen that the things are a bit more challenging regarding the adoption, not in the crypto asset market. This is very lively one. From time to time, we could consider that it is too risky and speculative, but at least it drives a lot of innovation, particularly in decentralized finance, thanks to it. So also the blockchain, they were able to invent a financing system, which was quite unique also in this context, and challenging the more traditional financing system of innovation, which is venture capital, which have developed mainly in the US, and for which it remain predominant. The US remain predominant if we compare it with Europe, even if in Europe we have made a lot of progress. So and then we have a kind of not pushback, but less interest, in particular by the traditional industry. But I'm pretty sure that now it's coming back. It's coming back for different reasons, because the technology is now more mature. Sustainability is no more an issue. Let's say throughput is no more an issue. A lot of user experience has been developed, so the application for identity or this type of things are progressing. There are ecosystems like Alastria, and I take the opportunity to stress the important role of Alastria for blockchain, not only in Spain, but also in Europe and in EPSI. You say that you have been, Miguel, that you have been inspired by EPSI, but I could say exactly the same. We have been largely inspired by the actors of Alastria, and many of the actors that we have in our EPSI ecosystem are coming from Spain, are overlapping with Alastria. So, but there is where I want to come. So I'm pretty sure that the interest for blockchain, including for the more traditional industry, will come back. This is already the case for the financial sector. They, even if it is not yet developed, adopted at a very large scale level, but all the actors of the finance are mobilized on this, and then the adoption in this sector will disseminate on other one. But there is one challenge for standardization, which is the fact that all those innovations are often created in informal, in those type of ecosystem and a bit outside the traditional standardization system. And for instance, at the open level, when we adopt a regulation, then for implementing this regulation, we have what we call secondary act or delegated act, for which we need to rely on existing standard and, if possible, on formal standard. And the pace of development of those formal standard is it is a challenge, and this is also important to address interoperability. So in terms of challenge for standardization, I would like to stress this one, and I don't want to take too much of the time close to the end of the panel, but it is there are things that we do in order to support the standardization ecosystem at European level. Alastria is and others are also very active. I mean, it's good that we have those interactions with more formal standardization body like ISO, but the adoption of formal standard is an issue, and I've heard that it is a bit similar issue in AI, for instance, where the technology is really accelerating at a pace which is difficult for formal standardization to cope with. So a subject of reflection for all of you, and I will. Unless you have a more specific question, I will stop my intervention here.
Thank you. Thank you for very valuable input. And I totally agree with you. I think those are intertwined. The innovation ecosystem, I think, will be more and more and better used and more effective as we get the technology in place as well, like blockchain and AI and others. But I would like to do this now. I would like to end with two things. I want the audience to be able to ask 2 questions or 3. But I want before that, if we start with Alicia, if you would say one thing to the ISO community that is listening. We have, I don't know how many online here, maybe 100. What should they take with them from your experience that we should not be forgotten in this guidelines on innovation ecosystem orchestration? One thing we have to have in that document.
Wow. Okay, no pressure. In terms of this key takeaway, what you need to be including, I think I go back to actually what I mentioned before about making sure the diversity. So the diversity in our network is a beautiful thing, and that's what makes us special as well. I mean, it's the same as diversity in life. We bring together lots of different models, lots of different actors, and this is what adds value and knowledge. What we would like to ensure is that this diversity can be reflected somehow so that everyone can use this and understand it. Part of what we communicate in English to our network, conveniently for me because I'm a native English speaker, but that doesn't always help. Just because we're speaking the same language doesn't mean to say we understand each other. And so I just want to underline the importance of clarity in this so that everyone can read it, understand it, and apply it, because there you will get the results. So for me, it's that.
That was an excellent advice. Okay, Miguel.
We have, oh, sorry. I think we have to share things, to share investment, to share governance, to share benefits, to share business model in order to be sure that no one left behind. Just this.
Thank you. Very wise as well. And then we have Soledad.
Okay, from my perspective, I think the most important thing that have to be an innovation ecosystem is a purpose. As I said before, without a main goal to transform the ecosystem in something better, to convince all the stakeholders involved in this ecosystem is the most difficult thing to achieve for an innovation ecosystem, and for that reason is the most important thing to do.
Fantastic. And then finally, we have Pierre. What one thing would you say that we cannot forget in that document?
Maybe I will say 2 if you allow me, but they have been already said, so it's not super new. But I would like to insist on the trust and continuity. Trust because whatever you develop your ecosystem, this is a trust between the different actors, and trust also includes developing specific relationship and knowing who is good for what and who is trustful for what. Is something which is important. It was explained that it is one of the key success of Alastria, is to be able to build this trust without having, let's say, one organization controlling the overall. So it's something important. And continuity also because the technology cycle is quite long, and this is what I try to remind with blockchain. We were fascinated, we were curious, we were let's say super keen to engage in different action. Then there was a kind of pushback. At the meantime, the innovators have continued to innovate, and then we have developed the user experience, and sooner or later this will come back as something major to address. This is what we are seeing now in the US, where after some years of battles, now under the new government, new administration, which is more pro-crypto, but it's not only pro-crypto. Today they discuss about a bill which concerns the deployment of blockchain for many other purposes. And if we can count on actors which are able to ensure continuity in supporting those innovation at a given stage will make profit and all the stakeholders will benefit from it. So I would say to trust and continuity.
Thank you, Pierre. That was extremely valuable. And I can see in the future how we can actually see top valued ecosystem, similar to what we see top valued companies today. Some are just managed better than others. And I think that will be regarding ecosystem as well. We already see it in the company world or the organizational world. I need to ask the organizer now if we have time for questions because we started late.
Yeah, we can allocate 10 minutes maybe for question. If I may do the first. Okay, then I will share with you very quick. Okay, maybe it's to take the advantage we have here today Pierre Marot, so European Commission, the FC, but also Alastria, not only ISBE, but Alastria has a long time history. My question is, on ecosystem, we are commenting on collaboration and even technology. You comment about interoperability, but it's technical interoperability. Let me speak about the management interoperability. I heard someone told me on IBM, we have technological solution for any problem in terms of blockchain, in terms of networks and more. What we have no solution is for the conflict of interest behind the technology, which is about management, which is about how we can orchestrate collaboration. Common purpose is good, but there is a moment when there is a separation of what this common purpose means in terms of to create community. We normally use community more than ecosystem in blockchain. So how a standard can help in order to manage this conflict of interest you mentioned about the business model. At the end, the technology is not creating, only the way to communicate, to make transaction, to provide, identity, to orchestrate, let's say, the interaction, but it's creating new business model, new interactions. So what is your opinion in this regard? Of course, for Sole and Alicia, but thank you.
Belen, I think this is a very risky business. Most companies think that its solution is the solution. So how can we make everyone works together? Some days, I don't know. So what we trying to do? Make trust ensures. Just to try all of them work together and all of them get its business. To make a business for everyone, it's quite important in order that an ecosystem keeps together. So it's not an easy question. I don't know. Some days I said, oh, this is fantastic. And other days we said, wow, this is disgusting. So I think make business for everyone.
No.
I am expecting, if possible, that Pierre reply. Sorry. If possible, thank you.
Okay, Pierre, oh, okay.
Yes, so Pierre.
Thank you, Pierre.
No, about your question, indeed, this is a key question, and as Miguel, there is no magic recipe or silver bullet or whatever it is, and in a way, when we launched the EPSI initiative, it was to create at least at the European level, the continental level, alignment regarding the interest and the possibility to use the technology or solution provided through this technology at a relevant scale that will then help to accelerate further adoption. And this is something also which is an important remark for blockchain in Europe is that we are in a set of countries or at continental level already quite well organized in terms of electronic digital services, and we have different solutions. Even if the things continue to evolve, we are not starting from scratch. And it is indeed one of the issues for blockchain to prove that the benefit can be better than using other technology. And this is a challenge which exists in particular in Europe, which may be not the case in other parts of the world. There is also the fact that we have a level of risk appetite in Europe, and we have also the fact that blockchain was also in competition with other technology like AI, not in direct competition, but when you take in traditional industry, they were interested in blockchain, they started to invest in blockchain, and then came AI with a GPT as a killer application, and then they have to direct most of their investment in exploiting AI to the detriment a little bit of blockchain, at least temporarily speaking. So that's you're right that the technology is not enough, even if interoperability between blockchain technology remain an important challenge, and standardization for blockchain remain an important challenge. But it's not only about that. And here, indeed, it's only about providing the right the conviction that those technology can provide better services or more efficient services, that it will progress through the traditional industry beyond its own crypto market and specific application. And for that, indeed, it's linked to the maturity of the solution. It's linked to the capacity to explain through the different players what will be the benefit of using this solution, is to be able to rely on well-established standard, etc., etc. So unfortunately, there is no magic recipe, and if you know it, or if someone knows it in the room, I mean, I'm keen to hear about it. But to be able to act at the right level in order to aggregate the different interests and to propose an adoption at the relevant scale is probably what matters.
So I need to ask again, the organizers, do we have time for more questions, or should we break? One question. So
Okay.
I know that Søren has been raising his hand for half an hour, I think.
Yeah, no, but I was there before him.
Okay,
so let me my question is quick. Alicia, I was impressed by what you said. I was impressed by all of you, okay? But specifically, when you talked about the taxonomy, okay? I think it's important, if you have that, could you send us out the specific reference that you got of what you did there? Because it just sounds to me like it's going to help a lot in terms of the structure that you're trying to build, right? For the standard. And second, the establishment, you were talking, Miguel, about the conflict of interest. I think that the conflict of interest needs to be worked out before you even get into business. Okay, so for example, the sharing of value that's created by the network. Okay, there could be a contract up front that says, okay, after, as we start getting more here, either we get, you get a percentage and I get a percentage, or, we split it up, or the cost, whatever it is. Okay, but work it out up front. And that should establish the, the removal of the conflict of interest. And then I think my friend over here has something to say.
Thank you, Rick, for a very good question. Coming back to Alicia and Soledad, because you are managing partnerships of parks and companies and such, and there is no debate, there is a lot of innovation happening in your networks. But do you have innovation programs that you are managing for enhancing the value, the innovation of the network itself? And how do you measure those?
Yes, we have an annual work plan that we implemented with all our members in order to improve the level of innovation through providing collaboration between research and companies, and also providing contact with international entities also through B2B meetings, seminars, thematic working groups, etc. And we measure the effectiveness of these kind of activities by two tools. One is our key indicators of activities of our members, as Alicia said before, across the increase of the number of companies, the degree of the innovation of these companies, because we have in Spain a national survey of innovation, and this survey always said that the most innovative companies are those that are located in the scientific park, are more innovative that are located outside of our ecosystems. And also we measure the effectiveness of these activities because we ask our member about what is the result of the implementation of our working plan, because our working plan includes also new service that we provide as a network, because our association is not just an association, it's a network of innovation ecosystems. So we design every year new high value services to be implemented by our parks to their companies and R&D entities. And we ask them for the effectiveness of these new services, is that are working for them or not. And we every year with this feedback, we can change our annual plan, providing new solutions or new adjustment to our activities.
Excellent. But do you measure at the end of the programs to find out how good they were? Or do you measure during the programs to make sure that they move in the right direction?
No, during the program, we measure the effectiveness. And at the end of the year, we have we take the decision about to modify the service or to create new services more effective.
So I might want to wrap this up by inviting everyone, all four of you, to take part of the 6012 ISO standard development work. It would be absolutely fabulous to have you on the team. If anyone, I know that Soledad is already on the team. So if you want to contribute with all this knowledge, we need you. So thank you so much for everything.
Pero creo que no soy la única, lo cual me consuela.